I don't know about you, but housing mice inside the RV is just not okay with me. I'm a germaphobe and I can't stand the idea of housing a mouse. The first time that we did it, I swore it would never happen again. So here's what we have done to make sure that we don't have any more mice in our RV. You know, mice are kind of like us. They just want food, water, shelter, so you can't really blame them. So the way to keep them away from your RV is to not invite them in the first place. Don't give them all the things that they're actually looking for when they're ready to go set up camp. So I have a little confession to make today, and that is that this is going to be one of those do as I say and not as I do kind of days, because we've been camping here and we've been camp hosts this summer. We've been here for almost 4 months now, had not one mouse. We haven't had any mice in our RV, but I did not protect our tow vehicle or my car. So we've got 2 vehicles here and both of them have had mouse trouble, and that didn't happen right away at the beginning of the season. It took them a little bit of time to invade, but they came and we weren't putting up all those barriers that I'm going to talk about that we did with our trailer. We didn't do it to our vehicles. Our experience is that you normally have to be sitting somewhere for a while before the mice will actually come and start to set up camp inside your rig. So we've actually seen them after being somewhere for a couple of weeks begin to arrive, but that doesn't mean that they won't be coming as soon as you set up somewhere. So you want to be preventive and do as many steps as possible to make sure that you don't welcome them to set up camp with you. Your number one goal is to keep these guys away in the first place. And one of the ways that you do that is by keeping everything clean. So inside your rig, outside your rig, you want to make sure that there's no food around for them to get into. So that means emptying your trash regularly, keeping everything super clean. Don't put bird seed down, because the bird seed is great for the birds and attracting the birds, but it also attracts the mice, and you don't want that. So anything that might actually entice them to come around with food or water, you want to try to get rid of that and keep everything super clean. In my RV Kitchen Essentials video, I talked a little bit about how I put food into plastic storage containers inside our pantry. I like doing that because the very first time that we actually had a mouse in our rig, it ended up getting into the bags of food that were in the pantry. So potato chip bags and bags of cat food and bags of things like instant potatoes and rice and things like that. Now, if you go to the grocery store and you get something that is shelf stable, but it's in a hard container, a hard plastic container, that's fine. But things that come in a other, a soft container, like a cardboard container or a softer plastic, I take those, I remove the original packaging, and then I put it into a hard-sided clear container that mice can't chew their way through, so they can't actually get to the food that they're looking for. That helps to keep them away by not enticing them to get to easily, readily available food. The other thing you want to know is that mice actually hate the smell of peppermint and mint. So there's a lot of products on the market that we actually use now that are working for us. So there are peppermint sachets. We throw those in our car and our truck on the floor and in the trunk, and then also we use them in the basement of the RV and behind in cabinets and behind drawers and stuff like that, where they tend to go. So if they smell that smell, they're more likely to avoid it, because to them it's a smell that is unpleasant, and actually for us, we kind of like the smell. Everything smells kind of fresh and clean, so it is a win-win all the way around. The reason you really don't want to have mice, I think, for me personally, it's 2 things. One is that they are critters with germs, and they can spread lots of diseases. The second thing is that they can cause a lot of damage. They can cause damage to your vehicles in setting up nests in there, but mainly what their biggest issue is that they like to chew on wires. When they start chewing on wires, you don't don't necessarily know exactly what went wrong. So a lot of times you'll have a maintenance person or you yourself kind of checking and trying to find where the problem is when you start to see a problem in your vehicle. So not only is it expensive to actually find the problem, but then you have to go repair the problem as well. A lot of people joke around about, if you have mice in your rig, all you need to do is get cats. All I can tell you is we got 2 cats and we had a mouse that turned into more than one, and so that didn't work. But that being said, our cats are house cats and we feed them well, and so they don't ever have to go out and hunt for food. Maybe if you have an indoor-outdoor cat that does hunt for food, that might work for you, but it certainly didn't work for us. The other thing is, we've got 2 cats. You've probably seen them in some of our other videos, Max and Izzy. Max is the big fat one, Izzy's the tiny skinny one, and they both like to eat at night. And she is such a picky eater, and we're worried about how little she's getting. The vet wants her to gain weight, and we're trying everything that we can. So she's nocturnal, and she loves eating at night, and she doesn't eat that much during the day. So I want to keep that food down all night long if I can. When we did have the mouse in our other rig, I ended up picking up the food so that it wasn't down all night, and only putting it down when I saw the cats eating, and then when they were finished I would pick it up. The one thing that I realized was that there were at least 1 mouse or more that were going into the cat food bowl that I had down in the kitchen overnight, and it was hoarding the food, picking it up and putting it in a cabinet that I couldn't see really well. It was sort of where the hot water heater was sitting, so it was in a corner, but when we kind of started digging around trying to figure out where the things were getting in, that's when we realized these things are actually piling food in the corner of this cabinet, the cat food, and so I knew I had to definitely pick up all cat food at that time. This is where in our last rig I saw the cats on the floor looking for the mouse that was running across the floor. But as you can see here, we have a flat flush slide on this side, which we didn't have on the other one. This is where we keep our cat food at the end of the island. The mice were more than happy to get food out of the cat bowl, take it down this little alleyway, and then this cabinet here is the one that they were storing food in. But in this particular trailer, this is now screwed shut so that you can't leave that door open when you're moving the slide in and out. But in our other trailer, we opened that up. The hot water heater was sitting there, and in this corner right here is where the pile of cat food was, where they were storing the cat food. So we saw that they were getting through here in this bottom drawer. There's that little hole that's
gap under there.
A little gap underneath there. So it's really hard to see.
Yeah, and it goes
but
behind
there you can kind of see it there. It goes underneath the drawer, and this backs up to the basement in the front. So what we would do is take out the drawer and check for mice. And on the floor back here is where we started to see little poops and stuff. And now we've got the little peppermint sachet bags we have here. And then you can see we have a baited trap with some peanut butter on it. So as you can look around, you can see there's no little black poops or anything. The peanut butter hasn't been eaten. There's no evidence of mice here at all. So every place that we can kind of peek to see if there's any evidence, in this trailer, we're not seeing any, but we're using a lot of preventive measures outside, and we're going to show you those next. There are also little pellets that you can sprinkle around the outside of your vehicle. So we've kind of put a ring around our entire trailer and our car and our truck, and that way it puts up a little bit of a barrier. Now these little pellets, the ones that we're using, they have a slight odor that isn't super pleasant. It's not like the mint stuff, but it's not real bad. And it is definitely another one of those things that the mice don't like, and it seems to be working for us at this point. Now Pete is going to sprinkle the granules all the way around the trailer, so we're going to make a kind of like a little moat all the way around. And we do this periodically to make sure that they tend to wash away a little bit in like when it's raining. The other thing that we use are these little electronic, they're ultrasonic transmitters. They are run off of batteries, and they're really cool. A lot of people use these things in cars that are in storage for long periods of time. They come with little zip ties, and you can actually like zip tie them on the inside of your engine. So after we found the mice that there were mice inside the trunk of my car and in the engine compartment, and we also found that they were eating some of the insulation that is around the battery in the truck. So once we realized that they were in there, then we decided that we were going to go ahead and put those little electronic things inside both engine compartments of the car and the truck. We also have them underneath the RV. We've got them in the basement in the RV. We kind of have them spread all over the place. I went crazy and bought a whole bunch of them because they seem to work. So they have a sound that we can't hear. It's ultrasonic, and it is something that the mice really don't like. Now, I have heard from people who have animals, pets, that say that that sound bothers them. We can't hear it at all. We have 2 cats, and that sound doesn't bother them at all. So for us, we're happy with it. Those things also emit a blinking light that is erratic. It kind of is slow, fast, and it's not on a regular schedule. So the mice don't like that. They kind of get freaked out, is so what I've heard. Those erratic lights really bother them, and they tend to go away. So they do like dark, kind of warm and cozy spaces. So anything that you can do to make those spaces be white or bright or light, and make it be something that doesn't feel like it's kind of a permanent kind of home for them, that's what you want to do. Since we noticed it was the car first that was getting some activity, we started to put more protection around it. So you can see we've got one of those little ultrasonic sound things here. Here we are underneath our trailer, and we've got our portable dump tank, and on top of that you can see the ultrasonic sound thing. So we have a bunch of these things. Here we are and looking at the battery in the truck. Let me see, fuzzy stuff around here. That is the insulation. After we realized that we had some mice that were coming into the engine compartment here, we put one of these little ultrasonic things in the engine compartment in the truck and in the car. One thing I definitely kind of don't like, but it kind of works, and I've heard a lot of people talk about it, is to keep the hood of your vehicle, like your tow vehicle, anything with an engine. During the day when it's not storming or, like bad weather, we will actually put those hoods up. The reason I don't like that is because it kind of just looks like you got broken down vehicles with the hoods up. While we were out here one day, saw some little varmints running around on the ground. They popped up over the tire, and then you can see that hole where it's so easy for them to get in the engine compartment. So now that's a lot brighter in there than it is when the hood's down. That's why we are leaving the hood open to the vehicle, and the brighter it is and the less secure and homey it looks to the critters, the less likely they are going to be to start to make a nest and call it home. This is the mint scented spray. We also use that to spray around the wheel wells and around the tires and the floor mats inside. And as long as it smells minty, we know that we're still protected. One of the biggest differences between a house on wheels and a house on a foundation is all of the open entry points. All of the plumbing, whether it be plumbing, electric, wires, whatever, those things are routed throughout your RV, and oftentimes they come out the bottom of the RV. And if you don't seal up all of those entry points where a mouse can get through, you're doing yourself a disservice. Those things can flatten themselves and kind of get into the tiniest of spaces. So we use rust-proof steel wool and then some other foam stuff to go around that. My husband kind of sealed up all the spots that we thought that a mouse might be able to get through in our new rig, and we did it in our old one after we found out that they were getting through, and it does help. a lot. You want to prevent them from getting in the first place. We heard a lot of RVers talk about using dryer sheets to kind of spread a scent that the mice don't like and that they will stay out of your rig. So my husband really didn't like the smell of those inside our rig. They were kind of overpowering, until the scent sort of wears off. And I did have them like in cabinets and under drawers and in little spaces where the mice might kind of think that it looks like a good home. What we found was that it really didn't help, but we added those things after we actually had them inside. So I can't speak to the fact that they may have helped to prevent the mice from getting in the first place, but because my husband was so anti-smell, and because we already had them and it didn't get rid of them, we kind of stopped using the whole dryer sheet thing. I know it works for some people. What I say is whatever is out there that different people have tried, there are different mices, there's different mices. Is that right? There are different types of mice, different places in the country. They have different habits, different habitations. And so try everything that is out there, because what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So I say get out all the guns and try everything to keep these guys out of your rig. We also have this really cool little solar charged light, and that thing is a motion activated light. So at night we actually have it right underneath our trailer, kind of at the steps, and if it senses any kind of movement of any critters, it's going to start a blinking light sensation, so they trigger it. So again, it's something that sort of freaks them out, and if they see that, they will tend to go away. Here's the variety of products that we're using this year that are successful in keeping the mice out of our trailer. We've got some steel wool that my husband has closed up all the holes with steel wool and then put in some of this gaps and cracks foam stuff, this mouse magic things. These are the things that are the little sachets that we're using. We've got this rodent repellent spray, that's that Mighty Mint. This here is the solar light. It is not battery operated with regular batteries. It's a rechargeable solar panel, and then that's the thing that is the motion sensor, that when it senses any kind of mice or any kind of movement activity under the trailer, that it will start to flash. This little black thing is the device that sends out those signals. So they're ultrasonic signals. The repellent is something that we sprinkle on the ground around our vehicles. These mouse traps are when all else fails and you did not succeed in keeping them out of your rig or your tow vehicles. One of the really hard things about boondocking and getting mice is that oftentimes you're out in the middle of the forest or wherever it is that you're boondocking. You have no services whatsoever. So it's easy for trash to pile up. One of the things that I like to do is make sure that we are burning trash. We use any kind of paper products in our fire pit to start our campfires instead of using like newspaper or whatever as campfire starter. That does two things. It keeps like dirty paper plates, let's say, with food still on them, gets rid of them easily so you're not having to deal with the trash, and it also isn't attracting the mice. If you do have trash that you can't burn and that needs to be put in a garbage container, why don't you try using one of the garbage containers that I shared with you in my boondocking setup video. It's a really great thing. It's one of those regular pop-up garbage cans, but it has a lid and it has a little zipper on the top, so you can have just a tiny little opening. So if you want to throw in, some paper towels or some cans or bottles or whatever, it's easily accessible. But for the most part, it keeps the entire can relatively covered, so critters can't get in and out just as easily as they can with one that's open without a lid.